All right, everyone, let's get started. All right, hi, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Ryan Zeman. I've been a member of the ANA Business Chicago Associate Board for about 3 years now, and I'm really excited today to bring you our event. So the way that this came about was that marketing tools for competitive edge. And as a member, as a group, as the associate board, we thought to ourselves, for marketers navigating this new normal that we're in, how do we stay competitive? Which skills and tools do we really need? As you know, very generously, many companies have been sharing their resources, training, and educational platforms. However, we really wanted to sift through all of that. So we reached out to the network that we have and the marketing professionals there, and we came up with a list of the top skills, tools, and certifications that are going to be most valuable to you right now and best position yourself for being competitive in the future. And so today we're very excited to bring to you a panel of experts. However, before we get started, I just have a couple of housekeeping considerations. So in the top right corner of your Zoom window, please be sure to choose speaker view. This will allow you to see the person who is speaking at all times. We've also muted everyone's microphones. Towards the end of the session, you'll have the opportunity to unmute yourself and directly ask questions to our panelists. And also, remember, if you're on camera, we can all see you, and we're excited to see you and have you join us today. If not, please make sure that you turn your cameras off if you just kind of would like to listen. We understand Zoom fatigue is real, and regardless, we're happy for you to join us today. At any time you need technical support, you can use Zoom's chat function to reach out to Maggie Orchard. She is our behind-the-scenes event producer, and she'll be able to help you with any issues she can resolve. And then we also encourage you to please post your questions throughout the conversation using the chat box. If we don't get to them during the panel discussion, like I'd mentioned, there will be a time for Q&A at the end. Finally, we are recording this event, and we plan to share it afterwards, as well as a full list of the certifications and tools that we've compiled. So please look for that email over the next few days. And a couple additional thank yous to our entire volunteer board, our associate board that caters to young professional groups and organizations. However, are also events that are for anyone in the business-to-business marketing space. And then also to Agency 360. Their staff and their partnership has helped us to transform all of our in-person events that we typically have into virtual events like this one today. And of course, our special guests, Tenessa, Steve, and Elly. So without further ado, I'll introduce our panel and get things started. So first off, we have joining us today, Tenessa Lochner from Demandbase. Tenessa is the Director of Content and ABM Education at Demandbase, where Tenessa partners with marketers to enhance their account-based marketing strategies and grow their knowledge. She's passionate about building a community of marketers that are empowered, educated, and supportive of each other. We also have Steve Krull from Be Found Online. With over 15 years of experience in the digital marketing field, Steve is the CEO and co-founder of Be Found Online, or BFO, a leading digital agency here in Chicago. Since its start in 2009, BFO has grown and now has offices in London and Singapore. They work with a variety of mid-sized and enterprise clients who trust them to share in their business goals and successes. And last but certainly not least, Elly Deutch Moody. Elly is a creative digital brand strategist who believes in the power of collaboration, authenticity, and digital integration as a means to connect real people with businesses both online and offline. Currently, she leads digital customer satisfaction and engagement strategy for McDonald's USA. Previously, Elly led all digital communications, campaigns, and online strategy, web, SEO, and paid advertising, as well as social media at McDonald's Corporation. So first off, thank you everyone for joining us today, our audience, as well as our special guests. All right, now to get things kicked off, this is for any of the panelists. We're just going to talk about for a moment, getting started. How have you seen things change in this new normal, this new reality that we're living in? Marketers, as we know, have a obligation to best serve our customers. And so if you could just speak a little bit as to how maybe you've seen some changes and adjustments, or how you're leveraging digital tools to do that.
Yeah, I can go first. Hi, everyone. I'm Tenessa with Demandbase. And so when COVID hit and everything switched, we really kind of blew up our entire marketing plan because we had to. We really relied heavily on our larger conferences and events. It was right around event season that this happened. And so a lot of that was no longer, we could no longer do that. And so what we did is we really switched and pivoted to the digital channels, virtual events, like a lot of other people are doing. We wanted to make it different, right? We wanted to do, everyone was putting out these different digital events, and we wanted to kind of take a step back and breathe for a minute and make sure that we are doing the right thing. So we actually didn't just put out a virtual event right away. We kind of gathered our thoughts and really were strategic about it. So we've really been focusing on that on the event side. On the digital, or on the direct mail side, we have a really strong direct mail program that we usually do. And it's usually a physical send that we send out to people at their offices. And so again, with everyone working from home, it's a little bit harder to send out a physical thing to someone's office when they're not there. And so we've pivoted our direct mail campaigns to digital, doing digital things like we did a iFit subscription. Everyone's trying to work out from home and stay healthy at home. And so it's actually a really great pivot for us. And we've seen really great results, a lot of pipeline and opportunities from that. And then along the lines of what you were saying, Ryan, is like, as marketers, we do want to focus on our customers. And so instead of really focusing on the sales side and our prospects, which we continuously do, we wanted to double down on customers, making sure that they had everything that they needed. So as a marketing team and at Demandbase, I'm lucky enough to market to marketers, which is really fun. And so as a marketing team, we really opened ourselves up to the customers, doing one-on-one workshops with them, providing our ABM certification courses for free. So really doubling down on that to make sure we could, help them succeed in this time as well. So a lot of different pivots during this time.
I agree with the pivots. We've had clients pivot in a whole variety of directions. Some of our clients could do absolutely nothing because they happen to be in the hospitality or cruise business, as one of our clients is. So all we can do in that case is offer our support. And we've gone out of our way to provide services for clients who can't afford to pay us right now, because we believe it's in the best interest of our organization and their organizations to maintain that relationship and to help support them. What we've seen a lot of clients do on the pivot side is the same thing that Tenessa was talking about, and that is pivoting toward the webinars, making sure that content is available. The content consumption during the crisis has gone through the roof. I think we're starting to see a little bit of it slow down now, but we're creatures, and we changed our habits over the last 3 or 4 months, and we're continuing to see that trend. We're seeing click data that supports people being online at different times that we weren't expecting, especially in the B2B space, where you'd see a lot of people jump in on Sundays and early Mondays, and that's when they click and they download a lot of your content and they consume your emails different days of the week. Those patterns all went out the window because we all seem to have so much more time on our hands because we haven't been going outside. Now that we're going outside, some of the clients are sneaking back in, some budgets are starting to be restored, and we're starting to see a little bit of a pulse, but definitely that's the change. Everybody's hunkered down, they saved their money, they went to the webinar focus, a lot of people have cleaned up their email lists and their targeting lists during this time because they realized that they needed to wait for another time to be able to market or push, so they've done a lot of that as well.
Yeah, and Steve, I'll add, being creatures of habit and having to change our entire, world that we all live in now, which is mostly all at home. It's just created a need for having skill sets that go beyond where we were before, right? Human to human connection has always been super important in the digital space, but now it's more prominent than ever. And I think for us, as digital marketers, we need to adapt to that. But it really was easy because I've always said that I could do my job anywhere in the world as long as I have internet. And so I don't need to be in an office. But look at our customers at McDonald's. We obviously need them to come to our restaurants, even if it's, you know, besides delivery, even if it's just to go through the drive-through. So our whole world has flipped upside down. But the one thing that it's allowed through the ways that the whole, you know, team and business is working is to be more agile, quick, and get solutions done in an amount of time that we had never deemed fathomable before. And I think, you know, that has brought everybody actually closer together on the working team side, as well as with our agencies and our vendors and all the suppliers and great people that are involved in our business. And, you know, we're still able to meet the needs of our customers, but it is at your core it crucial for you as a marketer and somebody that anybody in whatever field you're in working from home to be able to over communicate, to use the technologies that are available to you, right? Like Slack or Skype or Zoom or Teams, whatever it is, and be present. There's a lot of, you know, video culture and what's appropriate and not at home. I feel like some calls there's nobody on video, and other calls everybody's on video or only some. And I think, you know, whether that level is set from the top of what your organization should do or what people are comfortable with, everybody has a different situation now, and it's, you know, all hands on deck doing what you can, but getting your job done, being focused and being present. And even for those that are, you know, interviewing for jobs, right? It's a totally new ball game. We all have to be prepared for this change that is going to totally uproot everything that's been done before in the marketing world and the business world, and get us prepared for future state, which could look very much like this all the time, or in some capacity, you know, related to how we're working now.
If I can play on one thing you said there, Elly, it's about interviews and about being ready for interviews in this visual virtual world. We have no problem doing phone interviews or doing video interviews, but for anybody who's going to come to work for us, we want to do a face-to-face, and we want to give them a presentation test, but we can't do that in this regard. And in thinking about people doing interviews remotely and things like that, the one piece of advice that I've given everybody who's asked about this is rehearse, rehearse, rehearse. Think about the questions that you're going to be asked in an interview, and put yourself on camera and record it. I know it sounds a little cheesy, but if you practice and rehearse some of those common questions you hear in interviews, it goes a long way, because I've seen some really good interviews handled remotely, and I've seen some really awful ones.
Retweet.
Well, that's a perfect segue for our next question related to interviewing, either as the interviewer or the interviewee. What are some of the technical tools or certifications that you are looking for? And maybe that's changed in the last 3 months as far as importance or priority. But in your each individual field of expertise, you know, what are you looking for under that skills section?
I could kick things off. From a social perspective, it's always great to have more than not education, formally and informally, kind of on your resume, that shows that you have some validity to what you're talking about when you go in for an interview or have a video interview. And with that, you know, you can showcase your Facebook Blueprint certifications, or your Hootsuite or Sprinkler, or, you know, whatever type of social enterprise tool platform, or even, you know, formal education certificates that are available. Like DePaul locally has a great program. I know, Ryan, you're involved with that, and Kellogg, et cetera. There's so many different now that it's educational class you can take. I didn't have that when I was in college and growing up, but you can actually have a degree in social or digital marketing. So having that and understanding, you know, the landscape, as well as any of the platform certifications or Google Analytics or advertising, whatever it is that you're, you know, hyper focused in, you should be the expert in your field and go out with all of these platforms that now have free trainings, including, I mean, LinkedIn Learning and everything. So if you don't feel like you have the time with your workday, definitely make sure that you're spending off hours trying to educate yourself and stay up with industry trends and anything related to social, because it's always moving.
Yeah, I agree with that. I feel like when I actually hired someone right when COVID kind of hit everything. And what I was really looking for was someone, like you said, who's continuously learning. So, even if you aren't interviewing right now, I feel like you should be continuously looking at, educational courses and certificates that you can get. But I also think, if you have those great educational resources in your back pocket when you're speaking in an interview, making sure that you can speak to what you learned, right? Putting it in real time use cases that you may think would be relevant to the company you're interviewing for. So making it specific to them, because I feel like, some some classes I took in college, I'm like, yeah, I like have that information in my back pocket, but can I actually put that into use? Making sure I can speak to that in the right way if you're interviewing. I think that's really important. And yeah, just continuously learning. I feel like our landscape is always changing, and especially right now, having that drive to continuously learn is going to be really important when interviewing and all of that. So
I agree with everything both of you said. I'm a huge fan of free certifications in the digital marketing space. I think there are several great certifications available, and while they don't get you the job, they certainly move you to the head of the class. We heard about Facebook Blueprint. That'll cost you $150 to get certified. It is a little bit of a tougher certification, but if you can understand how to advertise on Facebook, Instagram, you're going to be 2 steps ahead of everybody else. Google AdWords is still the name of the game in search marketing. You can do that certification for free. There are a bunch of different levels of AdWords certification. If I think about Google Analytics, there's free certification there as well, and you can get through that, and you can do a whole lot to improve your skill set. And I like to put a plug in for padding your resume, because if you've done those things, you're going to be 2 steps ahead. And as was mentioned a little while ago too, DePaul has a program now. There's a degree in digital marketing, and as part of that degree, folks are walking out with AdWords and analytics certifications. I don't know if the Blueprint certification will be added to that as well over time, but those sorts of things are starting to show up. So if you've got some time available, you can get most of these certifications without spending a ton of your time, and it just shows that you have the passion, desire, and commitment to get into the space.
Right. And on the Google front, Steve, I mean, it's so important as a digital marketer, no matter what your specialty is, if you're a social marketer, but you have a background in Google Analytics or ads or whatever, it adds so much more context and value to your knowledge that you can bring to the table at your job or at the future job that you want. So again, a lot of these resources are free. On a basic level, I know we had a chat that was asking about specific certifications. I would definitely take the Google Ads, like level 1 training, try and get the Facebook Blueprint or LinkedIn Learning access. A lot of these platforms are actually giving out free to either students or essential workers or anybody. They're giving all of their services for free now. So it is the time to jump on this opportunity, even if you just sign up now and take it maybe in a couple months. But figure out, which ones are going to get you to the next job or promotion or knowledge set that you need to have based on all of the offerings. And every platform has unlimited offerings that have so many specific as well as general courses you can take. And I think one of the best ones that I took through a private class and institution a few years ago was just better understanding SEO, because SEO, search engine optimization, search engine marketing, it plays into so much of what we do as content marketers, that you need to know how to write content better, be a better writer, but understand the technicalities behind it, even at just a basic level, to get you to the next step.
And Ryan, you said you
Okay.
send out a list, right? After this, I think some people are asking for specific certifications.
Yes, so part of what we did when we were researching this, all of our associate board members, we reached out to marketers in our network, and we compiled a list of the top tools and certifications. So in addition to the ones that are being mentioned today, we'll share that full list with everyone as a resource, as well as the recording.
Here's a quick cheat. Go to the Marcom 5000. There's a huge image of the Marcom 5000 where they collect all the companies that are doing this stuff. If you're just getting started, pick the space you're interested in and go look at the big pictures on those, and go look at the big pictures to see if they have a free certification, because the big pictures are those companies that are larger in the space, and you can do well by picking a few of those and getting some certifications.
Excellent ad, Steve.
There you go.
Yeah, that's great. And I'd like to add to Elly's point, I think it's really important that wherever you specialize in, to also look at the fields that are neighboring. So to our point, if you're in social media, having an understanding of SEO and a larger concept of content marketing, for instance, really will help you be competitive. All right, so some really great tools in there. We'll begin to dive a little bit deeper. So I'm going to throw it back to Tenessa. And I know we've been talking about your company Demandbase, and you've probably heard ABM, account-based marketing. For those of us who are new to this, or maybe marketing generalists, can you explain a little more about what is ABM and why should marketers be looking into it if they aren't already?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, this is where I love to talk about ABM. Yes, ABM is really the type of marketing that a lot of people are going to right now. And the old traditional way of B2B marketing, we do a lot of spray and pray. We just like put things out there and hope that people come. But what ABM does, it's really amazing that it actually aligns your entire company around a specific target account list, right? People, accounts that are really going to make an impact and make good customers for you. So they actually have, they will be more likely to buy, more likely to renew with your company. So just better health overall for your company if, when you hand pick these accounts that you're going to be going after. And so that's really the benefit of ABM, is that it creates more efficiency, because you're not just doing a whole bunch of random campaigns and crossing your fingers that you're getting closed won deals, but you're being very strategic, right? You understand who these accounts are. You're being more personalized to them. You're in lockstep with the sales team, which as marketers, we know can be a little bit rough sometimes. But when the sales team and the marketing team are aligned on what accounts to go after and talk to, it becomes a really great just process when we can just go throughout the entire funnel with these accounts and be in lockstep with the sales team. So ABM just allows you to become more efficient with your time, with your budget, and allows the entire company to really rally around that one target account list that you want to be customers of yours. So that's just kind of quick overview of ABM.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And are there any tools or certifications in that space that you would recommend?
Yes, Ryan, there is. Demandbase has an ABM certification program that we created, like I mentioned before, we're marketers selling to marketers, and it's really fun. And so we actually get to kind of be like salespeople a lot. We get brought into sales deals, we get brought into workshops. And so we talk to marketers a lot, and we understand what their needs are, what their pain points are when it comes to creating an ABM strategy. And so we took all that information and put it into different courses, and we actually have 3 different levels of our certifications that really go in depth. For me personally, as a marketer and who's someone who loves to continuously learn, when I'm doing a course, I want to know like the nitty gritty details, right? Like I'm like, okay, awesome, love this. How do I do this tomorrow at my company? And that's what the ABM certification really does. We are marketing technology, but our ABM certification is vendor agnostic. We don't talk about Demandbase. We don't talk about, we're not trying to sell Demandbase within that certification. What we're doing is really just laying the foundation of how you can get your ABM strategy off the ground and scale it so that you can really harness the power of ABM. So Demandbase ABM certification, I would say, is the best one out there. And it's free right now. So I hope that you guys take advantage. I know, Ryan, you'll probably send out a link to it, but I love it. I have helped build it. I was a customer of Demandbase originally, and I took that ABM certification and implemented my own ABM strategy at my past company. So I just find it so powerful.
I'm going to chime in and give a shameless plug for Demandbase for one, making the ABM certification free during COVID, because we've put everybody in our marketing sales team through it during COVID. And the fact that it is agnostic is amazing, because it's really, really hard to do, because platforms drive the bus for a lot of these companies, and to make an agnostic training that's going to help you in the industry is fabulous. So two claps for you.
Oh, thank you. That's so great.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Tenessa. Steve, so we talked a little bit about Google Analytics, and you're mentioning AdWords, and there's even SEO tools like Moz and SEMrush. Can you just give us a little bit of the lay of the land, and which tools do what, and which ones we want to be focusing on if we're new to the space?
So it's interesting you say that. So when we think about paid search or paid media, so I think of those as two different things. Paid search is the land of Google and Bing, where you're buying keywords and buying ads. Now, Google's matured a lot. There's a lot more behavioral stuff in there, a lot more audience in Google. So there's still a reason to go get Google certification. Google's YouTube channels and the YouTube advertising is starting to drive the bus for YouTube. So finding your way there to understand certification there. Google also has still the Google Display Network, or GDN, which is display advertising, which you can get certified in Google AdWords for display as well. And there's also Verizon Media has a programmatic certification, which is another advertising certification that just teaches you about the ecosystems. Now, Verizon's also a platform, so that certification isn't agnostic, but you can still learn a lot about going in there. So these are the things that we look for. SEO is a little bit the same as programmatic, where it's a platform-based learning tool, and I've looked at the Moz tools, I've looked at SEMrush, and in fact, we're having discussions at DePaul about creating an SEO certification as part of either a certification track or a degree track, just so there's something agnostic. Because I looked at, and I was BreadEdge certified a few years ago. BreadEdge is one of the Cadillacs of the platforms, as well as Conductor. They each have their certifications. They're both very platform specific on the SEO side of things. And if I think about that, then SEMrush and Moz, we evaluated those for training earlier this year. And the bang for my buck right now is on SEMrush. They've upgraded their training recently. The videos are a little bit platform specific, but not as much as some of the other platforms. So if you're getting into the organic search space and you want to dominate Google, I'd focus on SEMrush as a certification. You can certainly go to the Moz tools as well. I don't know if they're free right now. They have been in the past, but Moz has a good tool set, but it's very platform specific.
That's excellent. Thank you, Steve. And Elly, so for you, I just have a couple questions in the social space. I know you're very well versed in social enterprise platforms. You mentioned, Hootsuite and Sprinkler and some of the others. So if you could give us a little bit of what that landscape looks like at McDonald's, and what are your top recommendations as far as someone, maybe social media marketers or someone who's new to that space?
Absolutely. So I definitely think, be a practitioner of your own trade, right? And be the expert. You should be, usually digital teams are very small. Even at McDonald's, I'm a team of one. And, we're always trying to grow and learn and spread the knowledge so that there's more adoption of what the digital, power horse can do for us. And that is a lot of training and educating up to different levels of leadership and management, as well as a kind of across the board to peers and others that might not be, part of what we do. So we use Sprinkler, which is an enterprise social media solution, which basically means that it has the full kit and caboodle for everything that you need to do online through social. But what is a common misnomer with Sprinkler, as well as some of these other solutions, but especially Sprinkler, is that it's only social media. And actually it does everything from CRM to telephony to bots to chats to email marketing and CRM and so much more. So we are still trying to utilize our full capabilities of all the different technical, capabilities within the modules that are available, and expand the scope of what we can do to reach more customers and resolve more issues, concerns, praise, whatever it is that, we interact with people online. There are a lot of other enterprise tools. And in fact, some of these tools, even if they're not called enterprise, right, they have varying levels of access. So if you're a nonprofit, if you're part of a student organization, a lot of times those will be free or at a low cost for you to get access to. And then there's like a business plan that's usually like maybe like on Hootsuite, I think it's for 5 or more plus accounts. And then an enterprise level, which is something where at McDonald's we have 14,000 Facebook pages plus our national Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and other accounts that we oversee within the tool. So we need a massive tool that can handle the influx of engagements that we get on a day-to-day, month and year basis. So we use sort of those enterprise solutions that have a little bit more, but with that comes a costly price tag. So not every organization can afford that. And on the flip side, now we have in the social sphere everything pretty much free and easy to use within the platforms that exist. So Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, you name it, Instagram, a lot of them all offer free planning, scheduling, and engagement tools, which was something we didn't have even 3-5 years ago, let alone 10-15 years ago when these platforms really started to evolve. So I would, really lean in on where your audiences are and what communities you want to engage with. And like we said earlier, make sure that you're taking the certifications and the programs for those platforms, but then look at the social engagement and listening and reporting tools that are out there. Like Twitter just integrated TweetDeck, which is now free to use in your Twitter account if you have a certain level of threshold and followers and whatnot. But that's a really easy way for you not have to necessarily pay for an enterprise solution. But if you are a brand or an agency or working on behalf on multiple businesses like a consultancy, it would be helpful to have more of the larger scale capabilities that come with an enterprise solution. And then when you are using a lot of these solutions, they do have their own specific platform, like Demandbase certifications that you can take. So that's helped immensely. I was a Sprinkler user for years, but I also am kind of social agnostic to all these different tools and platforms out there. So I've used all of them and I've gotten all of the certifications, but Sprinkler was especially helpful. And it was, a couple $1,000s to go through this training. So luckily my business was able to pick that up for me. But it is something that, helped my knowledge just accelerate because I had that Sprinkler capability and certification.
Thanks, Elly. I think you also mentioned a really important point where in any of these spaces in digital marketing in general, technology and innovation is moving so quickly. It's so valuable just to know kind of what's cutting edge, what's going to be new up and coming, like you mentioned, different functionalities that these tools have. So I think also it's really valuable to know that and to have that knowledge and just be able to show, current or future employers that, you really are keeping your finger on the pulse and, that's where you're focusing your learning. So that's great insight. Thanks, Elly. All right, so we mentioned a little bit about certifications and informal education and professional development, as well as some more formal programs like at DePaul or maybe even getting your MBA. So this is kind of your opinion and based on your experience, what do you think is an ideal balance of this formal and informal training? And right now, where would you invest your time and money?
Personally, I would invest it in the informal training because right now, like we've been saying, there's so many courses out there that are free and available. So I would just take advantage of that at the time. And then, think about where you want to specialize in. If you want to go in and get your MBA, how will that help your career and things like that. But I think just take advantage of what's out there right now. And so many great, amazing courses are out there. And so I would do them more informal in my opinion. But again, like you said, it's kind of opinion based.
I'm gonna build on that and say, start with some informal, find out what you like. Maybe you'll fall in love with something and then get to the more formal or get to the more specific. And the other thing that I would love people to focus on during this is your written and verbal communication along the way, just because we're on video so much more and being able to present and being able to write that email. I can't tell you the number of emails that have been misinterpreted or the number of Slacks that have misinterpreted where we used to be a walk-by conversation in an office and you can understand the mood, the intention, where on Slack, you're going to scratch your head and go, wow, is he mad at me? And you have to choose a different way. So there's some free courses available there too. It's also goes really, really well with trying to win a job. But informal to formal is what my approach is. But like I said earlier, you can't go wrong with getting a few of these certifications that are free and they don't take a lot of time. So if you believe you're passionate about data, well, go after an analytics certification somewhere. That's easy to do, right? But if you have that passion already, otherwise, informal to formal.
And I'll add, it really depends what your end goal and your objective is, right? If you want to be a corporate leader or, thought partner or something later down the line, you might need to have an MBA on your resume. But there are so many informal trainings. And in fact, everybody's been learning as we grow, because digital is still such a new marketing tool for all of us to utilize, and new technologies and strategies and, trainings and certifications come out every single day, that you have to figure out what your end goal is. And I know that also an MBA has a really heavy price tag to it. So the more formal education, you have to be ready to take out student loans or take on a lot of money out of your pocket for stuff like that. But there's so much benefit to it, because, you can expand your network through the courses that you're taking and the colleagues that you meet and your cohort and everything like that. So it's, I'm a lifelong learner. I don't have a secondary degree. In fact, I have a studio art and anthropology degree from my liberal arts undergrad that I went to. And yet I am leading digital customer strategy for McDonald. So, I've just applied myself, and I've taught myself how to code, and I've ingrained myself in the digital landscape and spoke at events all over the world. There's ways that you can really try to get ahead of the game and teach yourself and use the informal trainings all for free now, which didn't exist before, to get yourself ahead. And as you're looking for jobs, right? How do you make yourself stand out from other people? Well, it will be actually on paper when the first thing people see is your resume is, does this person really know their stuff? And have they got the certifications? Have they taken the courses? Are they well versed across the board? That kind of background will help you get into the next level conversations that you want to have for your career, and even help you maybe get into your next formal education opportunity, because knowing that you're a social, digital, or sales marketer, that you can use that to then have a hyper focus on what you want to do for after your degree.
So it sounds like across the board, this should be a time that we really take advantage of as exploratory, and take some of these certifications and online courses to really understand what we enjoy, what we don't like, and then potentially, depending on what our end goal or career trajectory we'd like to be, to then maybe invest in some more formal education. All right, so we'll have one more question for each of our panelists, and then we will open it up for Q&A. I know we have some questions going on in the chat, so that's awesome. Please keep adding those. Like I said, if we don't get to them, this next question, we'll ask them in just a few minutes. So this, again, is for everybody. And so we mentioned a little about tools and how digital is always changing. We have to learn as we grow. And so for either in your space or in digital marketing in general, what are some new up and coming tools that you're really excited about? What have you heard recently in the news? What should we be really keeping a lookout for?
On my end of things, obviously I come from the B2B space. And so what I'm actually excited for is that 5,000 MarTech landscape to actually consolidate and become better platforms together. So I'm really excited to just see what happens with marketing automation, marketing, getting analytics and data, and just combining all of that different stuff. When I was in a past life, I did marketing operations, and having so much data in all these different point solutions was so tough. And so combining them together into like one amazing platform, or, as people are kind of coming together, as companies are coming together, I think that's going to be really awesome just to see what happens to the landscape. It'll be, more competitive, and it'll just really kind of even things out. But I'm excited to just see how you can kind of bring all of those point solutions into one main platform. So that, like, from a ABM B2B perspective, that's what I'm really excited about.
I'm an audience nerd. We're learning about first and third party data, and we're able to use it so much in advertising now. The news, Apple yesterday, they're discontinuing IDFA or giving the users a choice in iOS 14 is going to change the landscape. We won't go there. That's breaking news, but go look at it and understand what it does. But the idea of audience. First person data is what you know about me, my name, my address, my phone number, my email address. My third party data is my internet exhaust. It's the trail I leave online. The merging of that data so that I can be a more intelligent marketer, and the platforms that are using that data so that I can create more intelligent campaigns are phenomenal. I'm seeing its use in programmatic advertising, even in Google AdWords. I can do a lot more with audience than I was once able to do. So I've become an audience nerd, and we're going to see a lot more platforms come up around audience, especially with some of the privacy laws as well and some of the changes there. So it's something that I'm personally paying attention to.
And I think with, you know, where we've been with the Internet of Things evolving into what, Web 4.0, 5.0, wherever we're at this point, you know, everything is interconnected. So to find your customer on both the consumer and the business side is an entirely new ballgame. This year alone is going to create this transformational shift in the data that's available, because if you think about it, everybody that's working from home, logging on way more often on multiple devices, streaming with more TV and movies, and using more delivery services, Instacart, whatever it is, right? There is so much more data, and we as marketers have a big task ahead of us to wrap our heads around it, and then, you know, use the targeting methodologies and capabilities that are available on some of these platforms to really hone in and get the answer right. But I don't think we're all doing that yet, right? Even the Amazons of the world are still figuring things out in this new and unprecedented time. And the tools that are going to get us there are being developed as we speak, right? We already have these platforms, these certifications and whatnot that exist, and those will evolve and continue to meet the needs of where we're at in the world. But we are going to see that MarTech like 5,000 explode, right? We'll probably see, even though the economy might be struggling at times, we'll probably see way more startups and inventions and innovations created from this year, mainly out of boredom at people at home, but also because of the need of reaching your customers in a new way. So I would just keep your hand on the pulse and see what news comes out that and tools and technologies that you need in order to help your career and your job moving forward.
I think those are all really excellent points. Absolutely looking for different integrations and how, you know, the current state of events is really going to drive technology, drive new consumer behaviors. We're already seeing that online. And then also that data, it's almost like a second wave of big data. And now we have even more than we did before. And how, like you said, how are all companies going to leverage that and handle all of it? All right, thank you so much to all of our panelists. We're gonna move this over to Q&A, so anyone in the audience can ask questions. But before we do that, I'm just gonna ask Maggie, do we have any questions in the chat?
Yeah, we have a few. I think they were sent to everyone. Let me sit through them, and then if anyone live right now wants to ask a question, and I can pull up some from the chat in the meantime.
Yeah,
I can go. This is Libby. I so I'm on the associate board, and I just wanted to, this question I guess is posed to Elly, and I had sent it in the chat, but I was wondering, what are some consistent changes that you've seen in social content since COVID? And I know we've kind of already started to dive into this, but I'm curious, like, are there changed times, days? Like, have you seen kind of a fluctuation of when people are actually going on Instagram, going on Facebook, going on Twitter, like going on their different social platforms that might have shifted since COVID because people have more time?
Great question. I definitely think there's been, like I said, a transformational shift, and a lot of what you need to consider, depending on your industry or business, is commuting times, right? We're losing everybody, whether it's in the car, on radio, or, you know, at home as they're getting ready for work, or actually on their train or bus, whatever, bike commutes in, people are not having that time. So where we were, for example, on a McDonald's level, really trying to target breakfast as a way through digital advertising to connect with people on their way to work, we don't have that now. So for us, the biggest challenge is, you know, no matter what time of day, right, getting our customers to order McDelivery at home or go out of their way in the morning to get in their car and drive through to a McDonald's to pick up their morning dollar coffee, than to come back home and drink it, right? It's a entirely different experience. And I think even as Steve was talking about, right, the time at which people are opening their emails and engaging online and ingesting information is it depends on your industry, it depends on your business, and really the audience targeting is what's going to help you understand how to be a better marketer on the channels that you are currently using, because of the shift in the way that people are consuming information. So it really depends, but I think we've all seen that change in how we're advertising and connecting with our audiences and trying to target the information that we're trying to get to them, because no matter what your vertical is or the industry, everybody's trying to still grow their bottom line and not bottom out at this point, because businesses all across the board are struggling with the change that needs to be made to adapt to, you know, the pandemic situation we're in.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Sure. Feel free to connect with me. We can talk more about this. I have a lot of thoughts.
Cool. All right. I will.
Thank you, Libby. Thanks, Elly. So just looking at the chat, there was one question by Leanne. Leanne, would you like to ask your question?
Sure. I was just asking, my background is more strategic, and right now I'm kind of in between roles, and I've gotten certifications, but then I don't have the opportunity right now to actually apply anything that I've learned. So I don't know if going in, if a manager looks at that and says, well, that's great that you have these, but you haven't actually had the experience. So I'm just wondering how to get some experience. And somebody had suggested maybe connecting with some local organizations or marketing groups to do internships, or, you know, work with somebody within the company to see if you could help work on projects. But just trying to figure out how to sell the fact that you've got the certification and you have the knowledge, even though you haven't been able to actually use it.
Let me ask you a lead-in question, Leanne. What do you love?
I just love marketing in general, and that's part of the struggle I'm having right now, is trying to find
awesome.
a niche.
All right. Are there any groups or organizations that you adore that you might be able to give your time freely to, or even just a few hours a week, where you could manage their Google ad campaign or their social media campaign, where you could do that as a charitable function?
Sure. Now, a lot of them are nonprofits and they don't have budgets to advertise with, but, you know, could do some other things.
Well, exactly. You could test some of the things you're working on. You could manage organic social for some of these organizations. There, I'm sure Ryan can certainly speak to that, and Elly could too, just helping these people move along. The other thing you can do for a lot of these organizations, they don't know if it exists, but there's something called a Google grant, where Google will give you free money to advertise on Google if you're a non-for-profit. So a lot of them love it when you show up and you can fill out the Google grant paperwork, and then you can manage the campaign for them. Just ideas for where you can go and get some stuff. I'll turn it over to the other folks too. I'm sure they have some great ideas too.
That's awesome. Thanks.
Yeah, Steve hit the nail on the head with that one. My recommendation always is to reach out to friends, families, local businesses, any, you know, organizations like your church or wherever that might actually need some assistance, but maybe doesn't have a budget. Or a lot of, you know, room to grow their in-house personnel. An internship would be amazing, but it's hard to do that when you already have a full-time job as well. So I know that the way that I really helped accelerate my career and learn by doing, because there's so much that you have to stay active and utilize all the social platforms and everything to really understand it after you take the certifications, is, you know, helping out startups and local businesses and friends companies with their social media marketing. And a lot of times, even, you know, on the Google side, but also on Facebook, they'll let you do some free advertising tests that you can, you know, get $25, $50 even to see if you can grow your audience. And they will give you that complimentary so that you can then really take that organization or business's work to the next level and sell in the case study to the team why they need to spend, instead of $100 on whatever random thing they're spending that on this month, just try putting $100 towards, or $1,000 or whatever it is, towards marketing online and using sponsored and digital advertising to really get the lift that they need. And that will prove out to them why they need to invest in it and maybe have a full-time role, which could be your job if that's what you want to do and you're passionate about, or you could, you know, then help set them up for success.
Awesome. Thank you all so much.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Leanne. That is a really fantastic question, and I think it's a natural follow-up to our conversation about the tools and certifications. So thank you for that. Let's see. Is there anyone else who asked a question in the chat who would like to unmute and ask our panelists?
Yep, I have a question, please. Hi, everyone. And my question is, how can we grow our audience? I mean, I try to post every day and to focus on the quality of my content, but are there any tips you can share with us for new beginners? Thank you.
I can take that one. Posting every day might actually cause fatigue to your audience on being engaged. So you really have to dig into the data. This is always where your story starts and where you should be looking. And again, these platforms, especially on social, but Google and otherwise, all have free analytics that you can look at that allow you to see when your audience is online, what time of day, when are they engaging with your content, what kind of content specifically is getting their attention, and then even what's the call to action and how are you using that to drive them to your website or your mobile app or whatever the, you know, the end result is for you. And so try to figure out, based on the analytics, what the story can tell about your audience, and then really hyper focus your efforts on that audience, right? You can always want to reach as many people as possible, but really the more focused you are on that specific niche demographic of people that will buy your products or services or engage with you online, or again, whatever your objective is, are the ones that you truly want to focus on now. In a time where everybody's overwhelmed with so much news and information online. And I mean, I do it myself. I'm only paying attention to the brands that I care about most, because there's just so much going on that it's overwhelming, and then you lose sleep and it's like you just can never keep up with it. So find a way to use the data that's going to help you really engage that core audience. And if you need to take a step back and maybe reset your marketing strategy, now is the time to do that as well. Look at your personas that you can build for the audience that you're trying to reach, and develop out the targeting strategy for how to actually connect with them and get them back to, you know, your website, your blog, your product page, your Amazon link, whatever it could be.
Hi, I have a question that I put in the chat also. I get so much email. I try to unsubscribe, please remove me, and they don't listen to me. And I get so much email that I'm totally overwhelmed. How do I get these unwanted people from even reaching out to me, and make sure that when I say unsubscribe, that they get off my back?
You could probably reach out directly to the company. Like maybe if you can reply to that email and say, hey, I've tried to unsubscribe. I don't know if there's like a technology to block different things, but I mean, I've had to do that before. Like, hey, please stop emailing me. But you guys might have other ideas.
Yeah, I mean, it's illegal, especially if you didn't subscribe to the email, for them to do that. So you can actually report them. But before you do that, I would definitely recommend what Tenessa said, where you actually go in and if you click unsubscribe and you don't actually get unsubscribed, try contacting somebody from the company, try connecting with customer service, or auto filter your email messages from that company into a spam folder. And after 30 or 60 days, especially through Gmail, Google picks that up and they automatically flag it, or even Outlook and other programs that exist for email marketing and viewing. You can auto set some of those spam filters so that a lot of that content gets weeded out and you're not seeing it in your inbox and being overwhelmed, because I think that happens to us all. And especially if you sign up for one promotion, you might get 1,000 emails following that related to other things that you didn't want. So always read the terms of service when you're clicking on a promotion, campaign, contest, or whatever it is that you're signing up for, so you know the kind of back end tricks of the trade.
Got it. Thank you.
All right, well, in light of time, I first off just want to thank our panelists again, Tenessa, Elly, and Steve. Thank you so much for spending your lunch with us, as well as everyone who participated. This has been such an engaging discussion, and we weren't sure what to expect as we re-engage our programming. So this was fantastic. We'll definitely keep up more events like that as an associate board. However, I'd like to give a really quick plug. Our executive board has had a really fantastic marketing leading through change series, and their third webinar is going to be Thursday, July 2nd. That is 11 a.m. to noon, and that's with Steve Handmaker from Assurance and Risa Redden from Paynet. It'll be moderated by Roland Jacobs from Aspire Up, and he's also on our executive board. So be on the lookout for that. Like I'd mentioned, the recording will be emailed to you, as well as the list of tools that I mentioned today, as well as others. And again, really want to thank everyone for being here today. I know I really enjoyed it, and I hope that you all found it valuable, and look forward to having more events like this. So thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you, Ryan. Thanks everyone for joining.
Thanks, everyone. It's great to talk to you.